We call to order today's hearing entitled Examining the Insurance Industry's Claims Practices Following Recent Natural Disasters. This is the first hearing of the Subcommittee on Disaster Management, and I am delighted to work on this committee with my colleague, the ranking member, Senator Kim. This has been a great start to our, what I hope will be a great collaboration, and I want to say a special thank you to our witnesses who are in the room. We'll have a chance to hear from each of you in just a moment. I'm going to introduce each of you, give you the opportunity to make an opening statement, and then we'll have some rounds of questioning. Before we start that, let me just say a word about what brings us here and the significance of this hearing. In the last year alone, disasters have devastated communities across our country. In the state of Missouri, where I'm from, tornadoes have ripped across the state, leaving thousands without power, leaving homes damaged, in some cases leaving families without loved ones. Hurricanes Milton and Helene have cut a brutal path through the southeast, uprooting trees, destroying roofs, turning family lives into a nightmare. On the other end of the country in California, brutal wildfires have burned entire communities to the ground. And these disasters have done more than cause property damage, though that is quite significant. They have done more than cause inconvenience, though that can be harrowing. They have destroyed the lives of people. We're not talking here about minor inconveniences. We're talking about moms who've had to haul 5-gallon buckets of water because the pipes are gone. We're talking about grandparents who've had to sleep in their cars because there's no roof over their heads. We're talking about families who are maxing out their credit cards because their insurance companies won't pay out any damage claims. And that's what brings us to today's hearing. Where do Americans turn after catastrophes like the ones we've experienced just in the last calendar year? The answer is they turn to their insurance companies. And they don't turn to their insurance companies for a handout. This isn't charity that we're talking about. They turn to their insurance companies because they pay premiums to those insurance companies. It's a contract. And by the way, it's required in law. Americans are required to purchase. Property owners are required to purchase insurance. And so they do so dutifully in every state in the union. And they pay their premiums dutifully in every state in the union. And unfortunately, time after time, they find when disaster strikes in their moment of utmost need, the insurance companies come back to them and they delay and they deny and they offer excuses and they send out 2 adjusters and 3 adjusters and 15 adjusters and 25 adjusters, and they constantly change the estimates, and at the end of the day, they just won't pay what is due, what is required, what is just. And it's not a one-off situation. It's not like it's happened to just one family. It is a deliberate strategy to maximize profits. We're going to hear about it today. We're going to hear about it on this panel. Let me just give a brief overview of how it works. It goes something basically like this. When a disaster destroys, let's say, your home, the insurance companies send out an adjuster, often a third-party adjuster. That person writes up a report, often in good faith, doing their best to estimate the damages. And then what happens? Then the insurance company intervenes. Then the insurance company says, you need to change the facts that you found. You need to change your estimates. You need to change what's in the report, and they adjust arbitrarily the award down, 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 down. And the policyholder never knows. And the policyholder gets no say in the process. And the policyholder is left to try and put back together her life as these insurance companies make billions and billions of dollars in profits. We're going to hear about it for the witnesses who are here today. And I will just say that even before today's hearing, committee staff, my staff, working with Senator Kim, has done a thorough investigation that we will continue. We will be submitting into the record evidence today that we have gathered that will corroborate the testimony that you are about to hear. This is a system that we're talking about here. This is a system that promises homeowners that they are in good hands, that they will watch over them like a good neighbor. And after billions and billions of dollars in premiums are collected and pocketed by these insurance companies, the people who are left holding the bag are the policyholders, American citizens, at their moment of maximum despair. There's something wrong with that system. There needs to be some accountability, and we're going to do our best to start getting it today. The practice of the subcommittee to swear in witnesses who testify in front of us. So now I'll ask you to rise and raise your right hands and repeat this oath if you're willing. Do you swear that the testimony that you will give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record reflect that each witness answered in the affirmative. That's a good start. And with this, let me go down the line here and introduce each witness and then give each of you the opportunity for an open. It's Mr. Vitale. Thanks to all of the witnesses. We'll now have some rounds of questioning. I will start, and let me start with you, Ms. Miguel. So it's September 27th, 2024, Hurricane Helene hits Georgia, hits your home, causing very significant damage. I think we've got a picture of some of the damage here. Let's have a look. Does this look pretty familiar to you?
It does.
It looks pretty severe. I mean, that's a massive tree right there in the front part of your home, and you're an Allstate policyholder, is that correct?
Correct.
And Allstate sends out an adjuster, you said pretty quickly just a moment ago, is that
About
correct?
3 weeks after.
Oh, well, that's not very quick. Okay, 3 weeks after. All right, and that you were told at the time in this first inspection verbally that the adjuster agreed with you this was very severe damage. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
I think we maybe have a second picture. Let's look at another view of this just to give a real impression. Here's a breezeway that looks to be nearly completely destroyed. You can see some of that roof damage, quite extensive, that you were talking about in your testimony. All of this looks familiar to you, I'm sure.
Yes.
Now, after this first adjuster agrees with you that, yes, there's very significant damage, what did Allstate, when they finally came back with an actual assessment, a real number, what was that number again?
$46,000.
$46,000. So you went to considerable expense on your own. You hired your own independent adjuster to come back out and do all of this over again. And that person, looking at all of this evidence, that person found that the damage was in the neighborhood of what?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how your independent adjuster, how much did that person estimate the damage was?
$497,000.
$497,000. Allstate offered you 40, basically.
Correct.
And you're still waiting for this process to be resolved all this time later. Is that right?
That's right.
Let me just ask you now, Mr. Schroeder, because you were that first adjuster who worked for Allstate who came out to look at this home. You were a field adjuster deployed for Allstate through pilot catastrophe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you were the first one to inspect Ms. Miguel's home after the hurricane. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you went in person, I think. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you spent several hours, Ms. Miguel said in her testimony a moment ago, you spent several hours doing a very thorough inspection. Is that your memory also?
Yeah, that's correct.
And how serious would you say the damage was in your own, just your personal recollection?
Extremely, probably the most serious that I saw on this deployment.
Wow, the most serious that you saw on the deployment, which makes sense given these photos. So you start, if I understand correctly, you start to prepare an estimate for a full replacement of this breezeway right here. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's correct.
But then you were instructed, you were told by the higher ups, no, we're not going to do a full replacement of the breezeway. So only do an assessment for a partial replacement of the breezeway. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
okay.
correct.
So then you start working on that, and you're working to get as big of a damage claim as you can from Ms. Miguel in line with the facts after you've already been told, no, we're not going to do the full thing. And then before you can even complete your work, you're taken off the case. Is that right?
Yes.
Why do you think that happened?
I was told it was due to time I was taking too long, but I don't believe that is the case. I think that Allstate saw from this and my recently prior estimates of being very thorough and complete and going back and forth with reviewers on coverage that it was going to be a higher estimate and it would be more cost effective to reassign it to an adjuster that would listen better.
Yeah, an adjuster who would lowball the policyholder, really. I mean, that's what we're talking about. You're removed from the case. It took 3 weeks to send you out to begin with, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're removed once it looks like you're actually going to do some justice for Ms. Miguel. Let me just ask you more broadly, Mr. Schroeder, have you ever been told to change estimates to reduce payouts?
Yeah, frequently.
And when you've pushed back on this, if you've ever said no, what happens then?
If I say no, then the claims typically get reassigned due to, they say, either lack of compliance or other reasons like I'm taking too long.
In your experience, was this kind of thing a one-off thing or was this a pattern?
This was definitely a pattern.
Is it fair to say then that Allstate's priority, in your experience, was not getting the best possible award for their clients? It was in protecting their bottom line.
Certainly in protecting their bottom line, yeah.
Mr. Milliken, let me just come to you, because you were then yet another adjuster in this same case sent out to look at Ms. Miguel's property. You worked as a field adjuster for Allstate through pilot catastrophe for about 8 years. Do I have that right?
At least 8 years, yes.
Yeah. In that time, you have personally inspected hundreds of properties damaged after storms and disasters. Is that fair to say?
Thousands.
Thousands. And you're trained to determine the extent and cause of the damage and how much it costs to repair it. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me just ask you about Ms. Miguel's claim. You were assigned to re-inspect her home, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you testified earlier that you went about that diligently. You could see that there was very extensive damage. That was your initial impression. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And you reviewed all of the reports. There was an engineer's report by this time. There was the public adjuster's report. You reviewed all of those things diligently. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
When you submitted your report to Allstate recommending several $100,000 worth of payments to Ms. Miguel and her husband, what happened then?
My estimate was rejected, and I was advised to alter it to a lower figure.
So you were told to alter the estimate and to alter your findings as well?
I was told to alter my estimate. I don't know that the findings was told to be altered.
Were the alterations that you were told to make, were those consistent with your own review of the property and your own assessment of the damage?
No, no, sir.
Did you write that up in a detailed estimate, what you were told to do?
I did, yes, sir.
And Allstate then, they send that estimate ultimately to the property owner, is that correct?
I'm obligated to send the estimate to the policyholder.
And is there any record anywhere the policyholder would ever know that your initial findings, your recommendations were rejected and somebody told you to come in and alter them?
No, sir.
Let me just ask you more broadly. Have you ever been told in other cases with Allstate to alter or delete your findings?
Absolutely.
In fact, you testified just a second ago, I think, that you were frequently asked to alter factual findings, delete material, and sometimes include items that were false. Did I hear you correctly when you said that?
Yes, sir.
In the overwhelming majority of cases where you were asked to do something like this, did that cause the estimate to the policyholder to go up or to go down?
To go down.
What is your assessment of what Allstate's ultimate goal here is? Is it to pay out the policy according to the terms of the policy to the best extent they can, or is it to protect their bottom line and to use you and your report as necessary to meet that end, to make sure they make as much money as possible?
100% to use me to enable them to make as much money as possible.
And you would say that this is a pattern. This isn't just something that happened one time like in Ms. Miguel's case. You've been doing this for a long time, and you've observed this to be a pattern with Allstate and in the industry.
I have, yes, sir.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Milliken, can I just come back to you for a second? Can I just ask you, did you think that Allstate might retaliate against you for your testimony here today? Did that ever cross your mind?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And why did you think that might happen?
Well, I mean, I got a phone call from pilot management indicating that they were aware of it, and then got word from people in the office that I was going to be on a cutoff list, which has not happened in probably 6 years.
Okay, so wait a minute. I just want to make sure that I got this right, and I want to be sure everybody in the room understands it. You're telling me that after you agreed to testify here today, you got word that you were on a blacklist, essentially, from Allstate, and that you were going to be penalized in some way?
I've been told, yes, sir, I've been told that I'm going to be worked out of the storm in Georgia, which is 100%. I mean, it's cutting me off. It's eliminating me, guaranteed.
So they're retaliating against you. It sounds like they've already set it in motion. That's
Yes,
what you're
sir.
telling me. That's what you've heard. Because you testified as to what happened.
Yet, because I was going to testify, yes, sir.
Yeah, even before you got here today, they were doing this. I mean, that is really unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Why do you think why would they do that? Because they don't want the truth to be known? I mean, what are they so afraid of in your testimony?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I thought that by telling the truth, I wouldn't have any problem. Swear to goodness, I had no idea that the company I work for would hold a grudge about speaking the truth.
And I just want to underline what you've said today, and you too, Mr. Schroeder, because I want to be sure people get it. What you've testified to is not only did Allstate not do right by Ms. Miguel, not only did they tell both of you to alter your evaluations, they told you to alter your findings, they pushed down the estimate lower and lower and lower, but you both have testified today that you saw this happen over and over and over, that you were told, you said, Mr. Milligan, you've been told multiple times to alter factual findings, to delete information, to lower your estimate, that's happened repeatedly. It's
Yes.
a pattern.
Yes, sir.
And you said the same thing, Mr. Schroeder. It's a pattern over and over.
Yeah, it's a
Not
pattern.
just in this one deployment, not just one little thing, not one little area, but this has happened over and over again
For years, I've seen this trend.
for years. I mean, that's extraordinary, I have to say. And I want to say thank you to all the witnesses. I want to say thank you to the two of you in particular, because you've really risked a lot by being here today. And I'm sorry, Mr. Milliken, that they're retaliating against you. Mr. Schroeder, I know that they retaliated against you by yanking the case right out from under you when you were working with Ms. Miguel to try to get a fair award for her under the policy. That's just outrageous. It may be illegal. If it's not, it should be. And I just want to tell you, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that you are done right by, and that people like Ms. Miguel across this country are done right by. And that brings me to you, Mr. Vertel. I want to give you the chance just to say a little bit more about your story. We've been talking about Allstate, but you were a policyholder of State Farm. I think we've got a picture of your house as well. Let's take a look here just so people get a sense of it. This is your home after Hurricane Helene, is that right?
That's correct.
That's a lot of damage right there. Now, did you say that you had a small child at this time?
2 years old, yes.
And your wife was pregnant?
With our second, yes.
Wow. And this was taken back right after the hurricane, back in September, about October, something like that?
Right after the storm, yes.
So, and did you say Allstate now has fixed it all up and it's all good?
The State Farm has not. And
State Farm, sorry.
The home sits untouched. Current condition is inhabitable.
So they've done nothing in those, you said the number of days,
228 days of our home being uninhabitable, excuse me.
228 days. And your wife has since had your second child, is that correct?
2.5 months ago, yes.
So you've got a 2.5-month-old, you've got a 2-year-old. Nobody gets any sleep in your house, I suspect. I've got little kids.
This keeps us up more at night than they do.
I bet that's true. And you are coming out of pocket to pay for your own housing because you can't live here. Is that right?
We've received drips of reimbursement, but we've had to fight tooth and nail for every one of those.
So, I mean, just tell us what it's like to go through this with this company. I mean, how long, you'd had your policy for a little while, I imagine. I mean, you didn't get the day before the storm.
We've been State Farm customers probably for the better part of a decade.
Wow. And so you pay your premiums like everybody else, right?
Always.
And yet they won't work with you. They won't give you any help. Your home still hasn't been touched. You've got a little kid, you've got a little baby. They're not doing anything for you. You decided ultimately that you needed to stand up for yourself and actually try to fight State Farm on this. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
What would have happened if you hadn't have done that? Do you think, what was the strategy here? If you still haven't gotten the appropriate award, damage award. So what would have happened though if you hadn't have stood up and started to demand your rights?
I feel that we were perceived as an easy mark, that we needed to be in our home quickly, and so we were going to take this on ourselves. Right now, we simply have not received any funds that would allow us to fix our home. So if we had to come out of pocket, it changes everything about our life, where we live, if our kids could go to school, everything.
It's just extraordinary. You should never have had to go through that, Mr. Vittel. I want to offer my sympathies, my apologies to you, to your wife, to your little ones. That's absolutely outrageous. And the kind of behavior we've heard testified to here today, it sounds like to me you're a victim of. Another one of these massive insurance companies who takes your money. They're happy to take your money. But when this happened to you, they won't give you anything. It's delay, delay, delay. Mr. Quinn, let me just ask you, you've heard this testimony today. You're very familiar with it. You hear it all the time. Can I just ask you, you've heard testimony about Allstate and about, frankly, fraud that goes on there. In your view, in your professional judgment, is that kind of fraud limited to Allstate?
No, sir, it is not. It is pretty much industry-wide.
Tell us more about that. I mean, it's industry-wide because why? Tell us what the industry looks like, how it runs.
You know, we believe this goes back to the 90s with what's called the McKinsey report. A consulting firm sort of trained insurance companies to use their claims department as a profit center. And they actually trained their staff to come in and short people on claims. They did it specifically starting out with Allstate, and then they took it on the road for almost every other insurance company, and it is now basically industry standard. I will say, there's nothing you're hearing that's unique. The people that are speaking are unique because they had the courage to do it, but I hear these stories every single day, and they are the exact same stories over and over and over, and working class families getting taken advantage of by insurance companies without any ability to fight back.
So what you're telling us is these big insurance companies went to a consulting firm, McKinsey, and asked them to design a program to help rip off policyholders.
That is correct, sir.
And has that been successful? I mean, has their program been successful in ripping off policyholders?
It's been incredibly successful, sir. It is actually part of the systemic fraud that's occurring every day now.
That's extraordinary. I want to thank all of the witnesses for being here today on this panel. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being willing to share with us your stories, your expertise, your knowledge of this industry. I want to say again, I'm sorry for what you've had to go through, particularly you, Ms. Miguel, you, Mr. Vertel. And we'll continue to do everything we can on this committee to get the facts, and you've helped us a lot with that today, and to get some accountability. We're going to take a 5-minute break here, and the committee will stand in recess while we change the panels, and we will reconvene in about 5 minutes, subject to the call of the chair. The committee will return to order. We now will welcome our second panel of the day. It is our practice witnesses, as I said to the first panel, it's our practice in this committee and in the subcommittee to swear our witnesses before we begin. So let me ask you to rise and raise your right hand and repeat after me if you would. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Very good. Thank you very much to both of the witnesses. We'll now have 5-minute rounds of questions. We'll do a couple of rounds here, and I will start. Let me just start with you, Mr. Fiato. So I take it from your statement just now that you don't have any regrets about Ms. Miguel's case. Mr. Keating apologized to Mr. Vertel and promised to work with him resolve his case. Thank you for that, Mr. Keating. I didn't hear anything to that extent from you, Mr. Fiato. So you think Allstate handled it just fine?
No, I stated in my statement that I regret that Ms. Miguel is unhappy with the.
Yeah, well, that's like saying, I'm sorry you're unhappy, right? That's, I apologize, but I don't apologize. Would you like to apologize to her now? Maybe I just misunderstood her.
I would like to say, is Ms. Miguel here?
You go ahead. I'm sure she's watching.
Hi, Ms. Miguel. I'd like to say, I want to make sure that we get your claim resolved to your satisfaction. And if there's additional information or things that we can do to continue to work with you, we'll do that.
So I noticed that you said in your written testimony, you just repeated it here. Let me make sure I get this right. I'm going to quote you now. We live and breathe our motto, our customer's worst day needs to be our best. I have to tell you, Mr. Fiato, based on the testimony I've heard today, based on the witness statements I've taken for witnesses, it sounds like to me that it really ought to be amended to say that our customer's worst day is your big profit opportunity. I mean, we've just heard testimony here, sworn testimony from multiple adjusters that your company ordered them to delete or alter damage estimates to reduce payouts and to make you profits. It sounds to me like you're running a system of institutionalized fraud.
Yeah, that would be incorrect, Senator. That's not what we do.
So you have never ordered, Allstate has never asked an adjuster to change an assessment on their report.
When we review an adjuster's estimate, most often for authority requests, so most adjusters have an amount of financial authority that they can settle claims up to without having to.
No, wait a minute. That's not what they testified to. That's not what they just testified to. You just heard sworn testimony from multiple adjusters, and they said it happened. One adjuster had only ever worked for you over years in the industry, and he said he was repeatedly directed by you, by your company, Allstate, to change factual findings, to delete material in his reports, to alter his reports, to make them factually incorrect, all with the purpose of driving down the award and padding your profits.
I disagree with his statement.
Well, you know, I have to notice that, I mean, your profits have never been better. I mean, they're really quite extraordinary. Fiscal year 24, Allstate had $64 billion in revenue. That's 12% above the previous year. You made $4.6 billion in profits. And your CEO, Tom Wilson, last year was paid $26 million. Now, Ms. Miguel can't get her claim paid out, but Tom Wilson, whoever the heck he is, gets $26 million. I mean, that's really extraordinary. Do you not have the money to pay people like Ms. Miguel? Why is she not a priority, but Tom Wilson's salary is?
We've paid Ms. Miguel's claim.
No, you didn't. You have given her a paltry sum, your own adjusters. You said in your testimony just a second ago, you sent out an adjuster. In fact, you sent out 3. And 2 of those adjusters testified just now under oath that your company ordered them to alter their reports against their will, contrary to their advice, and in fact to render them factually inaccurate. That's extraordinary.
I disagree with their statement.
You disagree that's what they said?
I disagree that that's our process.
So they're lying. That's what you're saying.
I can tell you that, for example, Mr. Schroeder wrote 15 estimates for us. None of those were reviewed by Allstate.
Listen to another piece of testimony from another witness. This is a whistleblower report that has come into us. This person says, I've dedicated my entire adult life to the claims adjusting world in numerous roles. I worked for Pilot and Allstate for 12 years as an independent adjuster. I work claims all over the country regularly throughout the years, and I have watched the progression and controlling nature of claims worsen progressively. Allstate created an internal review team with the sole purpose of making sure claims were paid as low as possible. Allstate reviewers instructed adjusters to alter and delete factual findings in their estimates to drive down the cost of the claim. The alterations and deletions were often factually wrong. During Hurricane Isaac in 2012, an email was sent out that no adjuster could buy a roof no matter the damage present. This looks like a pattern. This is someone who's not even involved in this case in Hurricane Helene. We've heard from person after person. All this testimony is on the record. It sounds to me like your company is running a racket, and you're making more than you ever have.
Those are not our processes, Senator.
But multiple people have testified that they are. In fact, this really all goes back to a strategy that your company pioneered with the McKinsey company back in the 90s. Isn't that right? Let's just take a look here at what McKinsey advised Allstate as early as the 1990s. You went to McKinsey and asked them, how can we get rich? And McKinsey gave you this advice. Sit and wait. They said, delay, delay, delay. It's a zero-sum economic game. There can only be one winner, and the winner's going to be Allstate. It's not going to be the policyholders. And then good hands or boxing gloves. McKinsey suggests Allstate make a low offer on a claim, like you did to Ms. Miguel. And then, if the policy owner has the temerity to protest, you go after him hard, just like you did to her. Her home hasn't had one lick of work done on it, not one lick. And yet you sit here today and say you're sorry she feels badly about it. I mean, this is really your strategy, is it not? And it's made your company just filthy rich.
That report is over 25 years old.
And you've implemented it to the T in those 25 years.
We've had multiple departments of insurance indicate that this is not an issue or we're doing anything untowards.
What do you mean it's not an issue? You're saying that you don't follow McKinsey's advice?
That's not the way we handle claims.
You've never done it this way? You didn't go and seek their advice?
I've been at Allstate for about a year and a half. I can't speak to what happened 25 years ago.
Oh, I see. This all predates you. You don't know anything about it.
I don't know anything about the McKinsey report.
No, of course. Right. Deny, delay, right? It's the same tactics over and over. Let me ask you, do you ever engage in retaliation for employees who come before committees like this one or who raise objections to what you're doing, to the fraud that you're engaged in? Would you ever retaliate?
It's a hypothetical question, but the answer
it's not hypothetical, but go ahead. What's the answer?
The answer would be, of course not.
Well, we just heard sworn testimony from Mr. Milliken that you have retaliated against him, that he has been informed by Allstate that he is not going to be doing any further work. I see your suits behind you are shaking your heads. No.
Allstate didn't have any communication with...
Never had any communication with Mr. Milliken on this subject. You're under oath now.
Of this specific, we've communicated with Mr. Milliken for many times. He's worked for Pilot for 8 years.
Oh, it sounds like now we're prevaricating.
No, we're not
Now we're prevaricating. So my question is, have you retaliated against Mr. Milliken?
Of course not.
Did you tell Mr. Milliken that he won't be doing any further cases with Allstate?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of.
Of course not.
Have you taken you or Allstate taken any adverse action against Mr. Milliken ever at all?
No.
Have you done that? Has Allstate ever done that against any other employee?
I can't answer that question. I can only answer what I've done. No.
In fact, you've been sued multiple times in court after court after court for retaliation. You've been sued for fraud successfully time after time after time. Mr. Fiato, I have to tell you, I find your testimony absolutely stunning here today. I can't believe after what we've heard, I can't believe after what Ms. Miguel has been through that you would sit here and insist that everything is fine and above board. I can't believe that this pattern of fraud that you would have nothing to say about and these outrageous profits. I mean, don't you think that your policyholders deserve better than this?
I'm not sure what the question is, Senator.
Don't you think they deserve better than what you're giving them? That's my question.
I think we do our best to service our policyholders every day.
Oh, I think you do your best to make profits, and I think you're very good at it. And I think your policyholders are getting the shaft. Mr. Fiato, just to come back to you, if an Allstate supervisor, manager, employee directed an adjuster to delete or to alter or to falsify a report, that would be fraud, wouldn't it? Would you agree with that?
I would.
And your testimony is that that doesn't happen at Allstate, however.
That's not our procedures, correct?
Yeah, your testimony is that the people who testified today under oath, that they're wrong or lying, you don't do that. Is that correct?
I just have a different view. My view of the work is different than what they believe happened.
Let's take a little trip down memory lane. As early as 1998, Allstate was sued because adjusters had multiple times reported changes to policies. This is as far back as the 1998 earthquake. Allstate was sued because reports had been changed to indicate that damage was unrelated to the earthquake and thus not reimbursable by the homeowner's policy. That was in 1998. Or how about Hurricane Katrina in 2007? In 2007, a federal grand jury found that Allstate had altered adjustment and engineering reports to defraud homeowners and the federal government. Exact same thing that these gentlemen testified to here today. They also found, a judge also found, that Allstate had paid $3 million, 2.8 to be exact, to hire a forensic company that falsified engineering reports. Exact same type of behavior that these gentlemen testified to today. Then there was Superstorm Sandy, where Allstate was accused of engaging in widespread falsifying of engineering reports to benefit insurers. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. What's amazing is it's exactly what these two gentlemen said is still happening in your company. Now, your testimony is that none of this ever happened?
My testimony is that I wasn't involved with that.
Yeah, but you're responsible for it now, and you're here before this committee.
Correct.
So this happened. You acknowledge that this has been a pattern in practice of your company since the 90s?
It's not a pattern in practice today.
What, you changed it? You're saying that you rooted this out at some point?
That's not the way we handle claims.
It has been the way you've handled claims historically. We've seen it from the 90s through the 2000s, and then we had today 2 additional witnesses here under oath, and we have multiple whistleblowers in written testimony who say it's exactly the same thing. You haven't changed a lick. We've got your word against everybody else's. Why should we believe you?
Because I'm telling the truth, Senator.
Right. Right, just like you apologized to Miss Miguel. Right? I mean, it's really extraordinary. You're asking us to look at all the evidence and don't believe our lying eyes, right? I mean, just ignore the fact that your company has over and over and over again been sanctioned, lost lawsuits, paid out multi-million-dollar verdicts, all for this exact same thing, falsifying reports, interfering with adjusters' reports, hiring firms to send in false estimates, all to pad your profits. And you're just sitting here saying it never happens. Don't believe it. Right, just like you apologized to Miss Miguel. Right? I mean, it's really extraordinary. You're asking us to look at all the evidence and don't believe our lying eyes, right? I mean, just ignore the fact that your company has over and over and over again been sanctioned, lost lawsuits, paid out multi-million-dollar verdicts, all for this exact same thing, falsifying reports, interfering with adjusters' reports, hiring firms to send in false estimates, all to pad your profits. And you're just sitting here saying it never happens. Don't believe it. It's an alternate reality, isn't it?
I don't believe so, no.
On what basis? What world do you live in?
On the basis that I lead this organization every day.
Right, which means you're responsible for it. Which is why I can't believe you wouldn't come in here and take responsibility for what your company is doing. I can't believe you wouldn't turn around and say to Ms. Miguel, we will make this right no matter what. And I can't believe you won't take responsibility for the fact that your company, as we've heard from sworn testimony, is continuing to engage in this behavior, and now is also engaging in retaliation. It's a pattern in practice if I've ever seen one, Ms. Fiato. It's unbelievable. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say in defense of Allstate?
It's not our pattern or practice.
We've just seen the record, and it is a hellscape of fraudulent behavior to punish your policyholders, rip off the public, rip off the federal government too, by the way, which you did multiple times in past years when you moved over funding and claims to the federal government, so FEMA would have to pay more, the taxpayer would have to pay more, and you would have to pay less. And I have to tell you, it's worked great for you. I mean, your profits are unbelievable. What do you make?
I'd be happy to discuss that after the
You can tell us. I mean, what do you make a year?
I'm
Your
not-
CEO makes $26 million a year. What do you make?
I'm not comfortable discussing that in this forum.
Why not? I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable either if I represented a company like this.
If
You won't tell us?
I won't.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, Mr. Fiato, all I can say is I think your testimony here today is pretty shameful, just like I think your company's behavior is pretty shameful. Mr. Keating, let me just ask you, does State Farm deliberately underpay claims? Do you engage in that behavior?
No, Senator, we do not.
Let me read to you a letter from a whistleblower who's a longtime State Farm employee adjuster. And without objection, I'll have this entered now into the record. The whistleblower says the following: I observed routine and deliberate underpayment of claims, including the consistent removal or alteration of essential line items. These were not occasional discrepancies, but part of a broader and consistent pattern of lowballing estimates. What's your response to that?
That's not consistent with the State Farm I know, and I'm certainly not familiar with the individual that's making those allegations.
Would you ever alter factual findings from an inspection report like Allstate
No,
does?
we would not do that, nor do we direct anyone to do that.
Well, this same whistleblower says, and I quote, more concerning was the alteration and deletion of factual findings in my reports. In many cases, I documented legitimate damage to vinyl siding that warranted full elevation replacement, only to have the estimate changed to reflect piecemeal spot repairs, contrary to manufacturer specifications and professional standards.
Respectfully, Senator, I'm unaware of the details, surrounding these allegations, but we certainly follow the recommendations, based on the standards as that person referenced.
Do you retaliate against whistleblowers?
No, we do not.
This witness says, and I quote, it is also my professional concern that whistleblower retaliation is a very real threat within the State Farm system. Others before me have experienced severe consequences for speaking out, and I have reason to believe similar retaliation could result in the end of my ability to work in this industry, end quote. What's your response to that?
So again, I can't speak to the specifics because the individual is not here, or I don't know of those specifics, but it's inconsistent with the State Farm that I know and that I've experienced for 32 years.
It's amazing to me that both of your testimonies are very consistent in one respect, which is that it's a sudden case of amnesia before this committee. You've never heard of any of this stuff that's happened. You're unfamiliar with your own company. In your case, Mr. Fiato, before like yesterday, there's no knowledge whatsoever. I have to say, it's awfully convenient. That witness, that sworn testimony, that oath, it's amazing how often it produces amnesia up at these hearings. Sadly, your policyholders don't have it, and they're suffering because of it. I'm sorry, is your testimony that neither of you don't do business with U.S. Forensic? Go ahead, Mr. Keating.
I'm unaware of that firm that you're referring to.
You're not familiar with it, Mr. Fiato?
Same.
You're not familiar with U.S. Forensic?
I'm not familiar with U.S. Forensic.
U.S. Forensic, which has been sued multiple times, was found civilly liable for widespread fraud in Katrina and Superstorm Sandy. Both of your companies have contracted with U.S. Forensic for years, for decades. But your testimony is today that you're, per what I think you just said to the ranking member, you no longer contract with U.S. Forensic. Is that right? I want to be clear on this. Is that right, Mr. Fiota?
I don't know if we do.
Okay, Mr. Keating?
Same
Okay.
thing, I'm
Okay.
aware.
So in other words, the testimony is, Senator Kim, that maybe they continue to contract with fraudsters, I think. They can't recall, which is, I think, the theme of today's testimony. I'll just end by saying, in Missouri 2 months ago, we lost 12 people to tornadoes. A lot more people than that lost their homes. And that happens in my state, sadly, every year, every tornado season, every flooding season. And in those times of crisis, these good folks look to you for help. And I'm sad to say that more often than not, they're disappointed. And it shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't be victims of fraud and abuse. They shouldn't be treated the way that Mr. Vertel and his wife were treated, Ms. Miguel and her husband were treated. The people of Missouri and the people of the country deserve better. And given the profits you're making, I certainly think you can afford it. With that, we will conclude today's hearing.
The congressional hearing exposed serious issues in how major insurers handled disaster claims. Senators highlighted cases where companies like Allstate and State Farm allegedly delayed payments and pressured adjusters to lower damage estimates, leaving homeowners to pay for repairs despite paying premiums. Witnesses described these as systemic practices prioritizing profits over policyholders' welfare. Former and current adjusters testified that management frequently instructed them to reduce payouts, delete facts, or alter reports. Resisting these orders could lead to reassignment or blacklisting. These practices were described as long-standing strategies that forced families into financial hardship and left homes uninhabitable for months. Allstate representatives denied wrongdoing, claiming the issues were isolated or historical, despite whistleblower reports and prior lawsuits showing altered engineering reports and lowball payouts dating back decades. These denials contrasted sharply with witness accounts, highlighting a persistent pattern of alleged misconduct. State Farm faced similar allegations of underpayment and retaliation against employees. Company representatives claimed no knowledge. Yet witnesses described a culture of fear and systemic underpayment, indicating industry-wide problems in disaster claim handling. Overall, the hearing revealed the vulnerability of homeowners after natural disasters and the potential for insurer abuse. Senators stressed the need for transparency and accountability, emphasizing that families should not suffer further due to delayed or reduced insurance payouts.